Well, we covered the most popular Mexican cocktail in Mexico. Now let's cover the most popular Mexican cocktail in the United States. Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity. If it's Wednesday, we've got another cocktail video coming at you today. Today's video is going to be on the margarita. In the waning days of summer, I think everybody wants to pretend like summer is going to last forever, but it's not. It's not going to last forever. It's going to get cold. It's going to get very cold. But until it does, let's talk about the margarita. So the margarita comes originally from an old sour cocktail from the mid 19th century called the Daisy. It's sort of related because margarita means daisy in Spanish. The history of the margarita is, like all classic cocktails, somewhat dubious. The origin that I think is probably the most likely is that it was invented either during Prohibition or shortly after Prohibition and was served primarily to American tourists who were leaving the United States to go down to Mexico to get themselves some alcohol. Again, we don't know this for sure, and if you look at a lot of different sources, you'll see a lot of different explanations. That's the one that I choose to believe. So now that we know a little bit about the history of the cocktail, we're going to do this one a little bit differently. A lot of people will leave messages in various cocktail videos saying, that's not how you make that cocktail, that's not how you make that cocktail. I've got news for you. A cocktail is made however you make it. If I want to put 3 ounces of vodka in a tumbler and call that a margarita, I can. Now, I wouldn't expect to get that if I ordered at a bar, but you can do that. So the margarita, we're going to do sort of the classic. We're going to do a smoky version, and we're also going to do one with an añejo tequila. Hello, Editing Mike from the Editing Cave. I just want to correct the video a little bit here. I said in the video that this is an añejo because I aged it myself in a barrel for, I think it was about 8 months. I had thought the cutoff for añejo was 6 months. It's actually a year. So this is actually a reposado. So every time I say añejo, I'm actually meaning reposado. Thank you. Enjoy the video. So a typical margarita is going to be served just with your Blanco. Those with the smokier palate will like the addition of a little bit of mezcal. And if you want just a little bit different variation, you can use an añejo. So first what we're going to do is we're going to try 3 of our spirits. We're going to try our Blanco, our añejo, and our mezcal, and just kind of see what kind of flavors we get out of those. All right. So I went ahead and poured us 1 pour of our Blanco Tequila. This is 1800. It is basically Jose Cuervo, but a little bit better. It's a real solid mid-price tequila. It'll get the job done. In our second, this is a little bit more interesting of a case. So this is Luna Azul. This is a Blanco Tequila that I bought and aged myself. I aged it in a 5-liter barrel for about 6 months, so it does meet the definition of being añejo. So there's our añejo. And finally, we got our Del Magua Vida mezcal. Now, anytime you're tasting tequilas, and when we do our cocktail tasting, we're going to do this the same way. Anything you've got that's smoky, so your mezcals, your Isla Scotches, things like that, taste that last. Because once you've tried this, it's going to be very difficult to try anything else. Now, between us tasting this, I'm going to get a little bit of a palate cleanser before I actually try the cocktails. But yeah, so always put your smoky stuff right at the end. So first of all, we're going to start off just with our Blanco 1800. So just on the nose, tequila is a very clean, kind of bright spirit. Maybe a little bit of citrus. It just kind of, it smells very Caribbean, for lack of a better term. I know Caribbean would be more, you'd think rum, but I mean, you sort of smell, it smells like the ocean. It smells like just light, breezy sort of spirit. So again, your mid-level Blanco tequilas, it doesn't have a real long finish. You get that agave, there's a lot of sweetness there. It doesn't stick around a real long time. This is what I would call a very, very solid cocktail tequila. It brings that agave flavor. It's not overwhelming, and but it won't also disappear into a drink either. So now we're going to try my self-aged Luna Azul añejo. anytime you're trying an añejo tequila, you're really starting to see that barrel. Tequila's different from a lot of other spirits that we try. Your bourbons, your scotches, things like that, and your rums too, very much take to oak. I have found that tequila doesn't take to oak quite as well. If I'm sipping tequila, it's typically going to be a Blanco. For me, the mellowing aspect of the barrel, to me, doesn't work with tequila. And again, I'm speaking only for myself. There's a lot of people that love añejo and reposado tequila. If it's me, 90% of the time I'm going to be sipping Blanco. Right, so when you put tequila in a barrel, sort of two things are going to happen to the flavor. You're going to be losing some of that bright sharpness that you have with your Blanco, but you're going to be getting some of those darker caramel notes and some more sweetness to it too. A lot of people, if you want to have kind of a sweeter, more caramelly sort of a cocktail, you're going to want to use your añejo. Again, typically I'm going to use the Blanco, but definitely a lot of people prefer the añejo and reposado. And one day we'll do an episode and get a lot more into tequila and talk about the difference between añejo and reposado. For the purpose of this video, Blanco is unaged, reposado is rested, and añejo is 6 months and older. And then there's also extra añejo, which can be a couple of years. But tequilas are not going to be aged nearly as long as bourbons or scotches or rums. So now we're going to go for our mezcal. I mean, you just get the smoke right off the bat. It's mezcal is one of those things that you will very much either like or dislike very quickly. If you like your peated scotches, if you like your funky Jamaican rums to some degree, it's not an exact comparison, but sort of like that, then you'll probably like mezcal. It's very smoky. You still get some of the brightness that you do with your normal tequilas. It just brings a different dimension. It is tamping down, so if you have like a regular Blanco tequila, it's going to have that sort of light, sharp, citrusy kind of breezy kind of flavor. And in a mezcal, that sort of gets drowned out a little bit by the smoke. So mezcal is going to be very much a personal taste thing. You will either like it or you will not like it. Anyway, so now that we've tried some of these spirits, let's put them in a glass, and excuse me, now that we've tried some of these spirits, let's go ahead and put them in a cocktail and see what we think. Alright, so we're going to do the cocktail 3 ways, like I said. I want to mention one thing first of all, 2 things actually. This is agave nectar. This is simple syrup. There are many people that will tell you you cannot put a sweetener into a margarita because a margarita is a 1-1-2 cocktail. Those people are wrong. If you want sweetener in your margarita, you can use agave or you can use simple. If you are going to use agave, one thing I would recommend is actually make yourself an agave syrup. Agave is not quite as thick as honey, so it won't entirely, it will dissolve in a drink, because honey really won't, especially in a cold cocktail. But if you make yourself a little, maybe even like 2 parts agave to 1 part water syrup, it'll mix up in your cocktail a lot better. All right, so these all are going to have the same starting base. So each one we are going to put in 1 ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice. This is a cocktail that I really think, I'm not as big a stickler for fresh fruit juice as some people are. I think in this cocktail it's really worth fresh squeezing your lime. All you need is 1 ounce anyway. So I would really go for that fresh squeezed. And your second is going to be an orange liqueur. I like Cointreau a lot. Salerno is another one that's very good. In this cocktail, I probably wouldn't use Grand Marnier. I think that the flavors would kind of try to take over the cocktail a little more than it should. Cointreau isn't too sweet, and it's a very sort of pure orange sort of flavor. So we got 1 ounce into each one of our shakers. Now I'm going to make these in a very specific order because I don't really want to mix things up here too much. Especially, I mean, mainly you don't want to mix up your mezcal. So we're going to start off with 2 ounces of our Blanco in our first glass. We're going to do 2 ounces of añejo in our second glass. And on our last one, for a lot of people, just a full pour of mezcal is going to be a little bit too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for 1 ounce of a Blanco Tequila. And then we're going to go for our 1 ounce of mezcal. And by the way, I do not speak Spanish, so if I'm mispronouncing any of the names or any of the stuff we're making, I apologize. I will learn, but I have not learned yet. All right, let's get some ice in our tins, and we'll shake these things up. And magically, we have ice. Now, one other thing I'm going to do here that's a little bit different than most people will do is I'm not going to rim my cocktail glass. So I'm making 3 cocktails, and to be honest, I think rimming cocktail glass is a little overrated. But what we're going to do is just toss a pinch of salt in each one of our glasses. Now, enjoy this to hopefully some better music than me making noise shaking cocktails. All right, now that we have our cocktail shaken, go ahead and just very quickly cut us a couple of lime wheels. And bring out our chilled coupe glasses. So first, we have our sort of standard fare margarita. Make sure to tap that side a little bit. Next, we have our añejo. And you can see it does come out a little darker. The barrel does bring out a little more color in the cocktail as well. And finally, last but possibly least, I guess we'll see, we have our mezcal. We will very carefully cut our garnish because we have to make them pretty. We're just going to go ahead and put a lime wheel right on the edge of each one. Now, this is the best part. So, our standard fare, basically this is your basic margarita. Is your 1 ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce Cointreau, and 2 ounces tequila. It's really good. It's very sunny. It's not, I feel like the ingredients are mixing in very well. The citrus from the lime and the citrus from the Cointreau are picking up the citrus in the tequila. You know, you could sip these things all day, and I may. It's just a really bright, sunny, like beside the pool cocktail. Now we're going to try our añejo. Remember, this is going to have an aged tequila in it. So the interesting thing about these is, on the initial palate, they're actually not all that different, but the finish is very different. This one hangs in there a while. It also brings some sweetness. I think that's good. I think if you like a sweeter cocktail, the añejo might be better for you. I kind of like the original a little bit better just because it's more, it seems more cohesive, I guess. Now let's try our mezcal. That's lovely. That one, it tastes like you're by the pool, but somebody's making barbecue next to you. So you've still got all the lightness from your Blanco Tequila. And I think doing a half and half between Blanco Tequila and mezcal is actually a really good compromise, because you're still keeping that sort of crisp sharpness of your Blanco Tequila, but you're bringing in that sort of undercurrent of smoke. As far as which one of these I'd have, it would be all of them. For myself, I love the smoke, so I probably would go with the mezcal, but I really don't think you'd go wrong if you're sticking with your 1-1-2 recipe. 1 ounce lime, 1 ounce Cointreau, 2 ounces tequila or mezcal. And if you really, really like the smoke, you can absolutely feel free to just use 2 ounces of mezcal as well. So I think that this is pretty successful. I think these are some really great cocktails, and in the waning days of summer, I think it gives us something to enjoy by the pool. So I want to thank everybody for watching, like and subscribe, and have a good drink and have a good day.